Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here today. We have quite a show set up for you. I don't want to be disrespectful. Dan, I'm already going off on a tangent here. We've got quite an event for you today. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're also going to give you guys some of the I would say some of the most tried and tested, proven tactics out there. I am joined today. My name is Ago Cluytens. Some of you who are on the call may know a little bit about me, and I'll introduce myself in a little bit. And I am joined by Dan Waldschmidt. I would almost say Dan, who needs no introduction, but we'll let Dan have a go at introducing himself as well. And the whole idea today is we're going to talk about some strategies, some tactics, and some tools for how to grow your sales like a superstar. That's a topic for today. And I've seen the deck that Dan's got lined up for us today. There's really a lot of content there. I hope you guys are going to be taking notes. We are going to record this and we are going to publish this on YouTube after we are done. So you'll have a chance to go back and replay it. But I can already tell you that this session is going to be highly valuable. There's really going to be a lot of content there. With that, let me give you a very, very quick introduction in terms of who I am. So my name is Ago. I was born in Belgium, currently live in Geneva, Switzerland. Spent a lot of time in different places in the world, living, working, including in the US. And I run Europe, Middle East, and Africa as a region for a firm called Ring Group. And Ring Group specializes in coaching, training, and consulting on high-end business-to-business sales. That's what we do. I love to sell. I sell every single day. But there's one thing that I love even more than selling. It's that quest for being more productive, getting better results, getting better, getting more bang for your buck, if you will. And that's one of the things that I love about selling and about sales and about business development is that really there are many, many, many things you can do in order to improve your personal performance, improve the results that you're getting, and generally speaking, it's a moving target, isn't it, Dan? It's always about getting more done in less time with less resources, being more effective, more efficient, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Dan and I are going to give you some behind the scenes, behind the curtains tactics, strategies, and tools in terms of the things that we do in order to improve our own productivity. And I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is hard won. It's really, it didn't come from reading books. It didn't come from, going to, kind of reading the manual. It really came from going out there every single day, pounding the proverbial pavement. Who does that anymore? Today's it's all about go to meetings and Skype calls, but pounding the proverbial pavement and getting doing these little experiments in order to get better and better and better results. With that, let me stop talking and let me throw it over to Dan. Dan, do you want to do a little quick intro? Welcome to your own webinar.
Hey, thank you, Ago. And you and I, for the audience, we've known each other for several years now. And yeah, I like what you said. You really enjoy selling, but not doing the old school way, doing it kind of the new school way. As well, I've got Matthew here, who's going to hopefully do a great job of making sure we navigate quickly through all these slides. So let's jump in and talk a little about this. I lead a international consulting company. We do business in 13 different countries. Advising on really kind of turnarounds. Usually the thorny, sticky problems we run into are things that a few other people have looked at for a while and probably said, no thanks. And so we try to take these complex problems and apply, as Ago, you just said, some unconventional thinking, a lot of productivity, and some behind-the-scenes tools in order to maximize the results that people are expecting to get. Matthew, are you ready? Are you in? Are you flipping?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see my slides turning, but that's okay. I'll trust that you're there and making this happen together. So Ago and I will have a conversation. Ago, how long have you been doing sales, leading sales growth? I'll use that generic wording, sales growth.
Yeah, it's kind of going on 20 years, I guess. It started when I started
20 years.
working as a, yeah, about 20 years, about 2 decades. And I've done, you know, as you well know, Dan, I've been on both sides of that table. So for the first, let's say, 6, 7 years of my career, what I did was I did a lot of selling. I was a management consultant. And as a management consultant, one of the things you're expected to do is to bring in revenue, right? And deliver. I'm looking at your slide here. Deliver business results. And then I flipped over to the other side. I thought, you know, it's time to get a real job. And I went over to work for a Fortune 50 financial services firm, and I spent about 10 years with them. And so I did a lot of buying. I didn't do any selling. I didn't have any sales roles there, but I did a lot of buying. Buying professional services, buying management consulting, buying strategy work, buying CRM, ERP implementation work. And then I flipped back over to the other side. And for about the last 5 years or so, I've been consulting, coaching with clients on B2B sales. So, yep, going on 20 years there.
Wow, incredible. So, and Matt, you'll see in the presentation there that the reason why I asked was, you know, selling it's hard work. It's hard work. And first off, the reason I want to just get that right out front is it's really the only craft in the world where you go out and work and someone decides if they're going to pay you based off of like a bunch of different variables. And I'm not trying to whine. I'm just trying to let you know, those listening, that I get it. This is the hardest job in the world. I hire, you know, the internet company to come 3 or 4 months ago when I moved, and they had to run new cabling from the sidewalk to the house. You know, of course, you have to pay them to do all that stuff. I don't go to them and say, hey, you know what, dig a ditch and, you know, replace it, you know, put the cable in, wire it to the house, put some sod on it, and you know, wired up to the inside of my networked house, and I'm going to watch some TV, and if I like the shows that I'm watching and decide to pay my bill, then you'll get a piece of it. 10%, 15%, 5%. Oh, and by the way, even if you have a signed contract, I can change that at any time based off of my own gut instinct, right? So, but that's kind of what you're facing when you're carrying the bag, is you're finding customers who need help, who want help, and decide they're going to pay you, and then even after they decide to pay you, they can decide, oh yeah, we want to renegotiate this. And so I get it. Sales is hard. Let's start there, not by whining, but by saying, if you're doing it old school ways, you're probably just making life a lot harder than it needs to be. Matt, who's of course flipping the slides and is now chief of staff for all things edgy, is part of the team here at Waldschmidt that we spent years studying 1,000 ordinary people, Ago. And I know you're a part of this, and thank you, by the way, for helping us promote Edgy Conversations. When's your book coming out, by the way? I'm sure that's on your bucket list.
Oh, yeah. That is definitely my bucket list. You know, there are so many ways that I could answer that question, but you know what, Dan? I'll keep you posted. It's on the list. We almost went there, and then.
Did I just call you? Did I just call you out in front of potentially millions of YouTube viewers?
Yeah.
All of you who want Ago to finish his book and get it out there, you leave comments in the video below. But we spent 4 years studying how ordinary people, and I consider myself an ordinary guy. Yeah, I've built some companies, made millions of dollars, advised billion-dollar companies, but I'm just an ordinary guy. I dropped out of college twice. I wasn't raised with a trust fund. Don't have a Stanford degree, and have never worked for a multi-billion-dollar company like Xerox, who has all of these complex training programs. Just a dude who wakes up in the morning and says, if it's going to be, it's because I do it. I figure it out. And if I get knocked down, I got to pull myself back up because there's no one standing around me to pull me up. I got to do it myself. I suspect that's a lot like all of you. So we looked at 1,000 people like that. People, Hall of Fame football players who were born with massive disabilities, millionaires and billionaires who were homeless and broke at one point in their life, and said, how do these ordinary people, these nobodies, achieve outrageous success? We just watched. We observed. We looked at their life. We looked at their patterns. We said, was it education? Was it schooling? Was it friends? Was it location? Was it timing? What was it that drove all of these things? And ultimately, we came down to 4 overall attitudes, kind of philosophies that drove them to be successful. And for us, that spells out the word edgy. Of course, the name of the book is called Edgy Conversations, but edgy for us is, I guess you call it an acronym, but extreme behavior, disciplined activity, a giving mindset, and a human strategy. And so what we'll do is quickly fly through those 4 categories. And of course, I want to spend a lot of time talking about the technology, which is part of the D. But let me just talk about the attitude that you should have in sales if you're looking to drive enormous growth. And that is, one, if you're expecting radical results, then you need to anticipate exerting extreme behavior. Okay, that's the norm. So you should not be surprised if, for instance, God forbid, you have to work 20-hour days in order to achieve, 110% of quota. That should not be startling to you that you need to do radical things if you want to achieve extreme results. Now, by the way, extreme results might just be hitting quota. In recent studies, I know you guys have been part of doing all this testing study. It's amazing, isn't it, the number of people who don't even hit quota. I think it's like less than 50% of all salespeople ever even get close to hitting quota. I mean, it's really absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I see this a lot in my client work. When talking about radical results, right, I'm sure we've all heard about, the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of results come from 20% of people. And I see very much the same, if not more extreme type of graphs with my clients, right? You've got one person who's out there who's literally generating the bulk of the revenue. Maybe 1, maybe 3
Yep.
people, depending on the size of their team. And then you start looking at what they're doing differently. And part of what I love about what I do, I mean, I'll always be a management consultant at heart, I guess, because I love looking at these people, analyzing what they do, the processes, their tactics, their tools, their strategies, and then trying to find a way of kind of embedding that into the organization. And Dan, I like what you said about radical results and extreme behavior. But I want to make a side comment on this, and I know you'll agree with us. We've known each other for a while. I know you'll agree with us. I mean, nobody's saying here that this is all about effort and time, right? Very often, this is not about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about finding the stuff that gives you 10, 50x payoff in terms of the input versus output, and then going out and doing more of that. A lot of my time is spent doing stuff that doesn't look like work. It's called thinking. It's sitting there thinking about how can I improve. And I'm always doing this. I'm doing this, I'm doing this on Friday night at 9 p.m. I'm doing this on Sunday morning when I sit down and I look at my week. I'm doing this on, I don't know. I'm doing this on my Wednesday morning run. I'm always thinking about it, and that's part of being extreme as well. I think is always it's kind of like dedication. It's dedication to your craft.
Yeah.
I've always found that people who are very very good at what they do, I mean, they're so dedicated they almost can't do anything else. We're like uber geeks
Yeah.
in terms of our own industry and our own occupation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Dedication, obsession, focus. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, part of this radical behavior is radical results demanding extreme behavior is you hear the excuses. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people, and the people who are hitting the quota, that top 10%, top 2%, top even 20%, and they don't make excuses. They do the stuff that other people aren't doing, and you hit on a few key thoughts there about being extreme. There are a lot of ways to be extreme. Extreme effort is one key area we found. But you know what? If you're not doing the right stuff, then you're wasting your effort. It's like putting, in the Bible, there's a kind of a parables about putting, money into a bag with holes in it. Of course, if you're doing the wrong stuff, then you're wasting your effort. It's no wonder you're getting burned out. Do the stuff that works. You know what? It doesn't matter how many hours you work. If what you're doing is working, you see the results, you feel enriched. You feel excited. You're like, man, I'm doing A. A is leading to B. I'm happy. I'm excited. This is working. If you find yourself getting burned out and go, oh, I can't work anymore, then maybe what you're really telling yourself is what you just said, Ago, is you're doing the wrong thing. I find it interesting that someone like yourself, Ago, who runs, countries for Rain Group, and you have your own, practice and been doing this for many years and widely respected, you're up at 9 or 10 o'clock at night thinking, obsessing about, how to do this better, how to do this bigger, how to do this differently in ways that have more impact. And, other people are saying, look, leave it alone. Pick it back up tomorrow at 9 a.m., right? After 5 o'clock, you need, leave the work at work and just focus on your personal life. Don't worry about the professional stuff. Leave that there and come do this. And the reality is, if you want radical results, you've got to think about things differently. And two things that I've noticed about extreme behavior. When I've gotten great results for myself, or I've witnessed clients, or when I've told these 1,000 people, I've noticed I noticed extreme behavior and really a couple different things. One, desperation and focus. So, sometimes being desperate is a good thing. Now, you don't want desperation to lead you to do stupid things. You don't want it to, sometimes you're giving away a huge discount because you just want to close the deal. It comes back to bite you in the butt later. But, it is desperation and focus, that feeling in your stomach like, man, I have to have this. Urgency. You might say urgency. Urgency. I need to get this done now. I can't wait until tomorrow to start prospecting. I can't wait until tomorrow to start using these new tools. I got to do it now. That urgency plus focus. And focus, exactly what you said, Ago. What's working? Do we know what's working? I'm doing 80 things. I'm doing 100 things. What are the 80 things that aren't working? What are the 20 that are working? How do I focus on those 20 more? And that's really what extreme behavior comes down to. It's not about you strapping a parachute on and climbing, the Chicago, Sears building and jumping off. It's not about trying to get on TV and drop curse words or something. It's really about doing the things that you otherwise make excuses for not doing. And by the way, I'm sure you've seen this too, Ago. When we looked at these 1,000 ordinary people, lives were like everybody else in their community. There were 100, disabled, minority, people growing up in the swamps of Florida. There's only one Carl Sugarfoot who's in the Hall of Fame, born with one leg. Only one. He was actually one of 9 kids born to a broke family, single mom in the swamps of Florida. There was a whole community of people exactly like him, except he had one less foot than all of them. And everyone else made excuses about how people were pushing them down or keeping them down, or, life wasn't fair, or, they have these other commitments to deal with. And, this guy goes on and fights his way into the Hall of Fame with one leg. And so it's a stark reminder that the only thing that's really separating you from achieving the results, learning, obsessing, urgency, all of that, is excuses. So you kind of have to decide, am I going to make excuses, or am I going to just get things done? So you might not think you need to be extreme, but you probably do. By the way, you can call Ago after this and hire him to help you put together some of your strategy. I can't tell you the number of times where someone goes into a meeting and I'm stone cold ignorant about a particular industry, and they go, "Oh, we're like everybody else except we're the shade red, or we're like them except for the shade blue, or we have 2 extra syllables in our name." And you think you're being different because of something that only you care about. Guess what? How about you be extremely different in your branding, in your culture, in your product, in your marketing? And of course, that's something that Ago does there quite well, if I can brag on him a little bit. But just being a little bit different won't get you noticed. You got to be a lot of bit different. So if you need to be extreme, maybe be extreme about what you're doing, and you'll see some radical results. So not only do we see the attitude of extreme, of course, Matt's moved through all of those slides, but now the second quality in edgy is, of course, the D in discipline, and really disciplined activity. And this may sound obvious because if you're in sales, you're probably using something like Salesforce or some other. There's countless of these CRM tools out there, to do certain things. And so you probably think you're disciplined because you go to the office, you make calls, you have a diary, a schedule, a calendar, whatever you call it, and you record things to do. Someone says, Ago says, Dan, call me back in a month. I'm going to make a decision then. Okay, great. I'm going to write that down and call you back. And I think I'm disciplined because I do those sort of things. What we learned about discipline from the 1,000 people we looked at who became high performers, superstars, grew sales 1,000% year over year instead of 5% or 10% year over year, was that they just did things differently. They did things that no one else was willing to do. They did it consistently. So some of these tools that we're going to fly through here, I think are ways to help you do things more regularly. Here's what I've learned. If you don't have a plan to get something done, when life gets busy, you're going to forget about doing it. And so the reason why good people don't get things done is because they don't make a plan to get these things done. Ago, we were talking earlier in preparation for this event. What was that? What was it? Was it Todoist? What was the tool that we were talking about and you were jumping into? You were excited by?
Yeah. So that was Todoist. I am a productivity for lack of a better word, productivity geek, and I've been using something else called Remember to Milk, which isn't bad either. But you know, in terms of your disciplined activity, I mean, absolutely, Dan. It's all about, and I like what you said about the denying part. This is vastly underestimated. I've always been someone with a broad interest. I love reading. I love, generally speaking, expanding my knowledge of things. And in business, and especially when, like me, at some point you start your own business or you become accountable for part of a business. What no one tells you is that can be a real danger because you get enamored and you get caught up in everything. I mean, I was learning about accounting, and I was learning about not I sort of knew a little bit about sales already, but sort of advancing my sales skills and then marketing and branding and all the blogging stuff and the video stuff and everything else. And at some point it just became so much, and then I looked at my week and I thought, dude, you really have to stop doing so much stuff because you're doing so much stuff. And one of the things that I love about tools like Todoist is that it helps you really, really focus on the stuff that matters, right? And that was a big lesson for me. It's kind of like, the success of dieting is as much about what you eat as it is about what you don't eat and what you stop eating, right? And the same is true in business. The same is true in sales. What you feed, what you do on a day-to-day basis. Maybe if I can sort of, I just thought of this. I mean, an extraordinary life is the result of a succession of extraordinary actions. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, I think so. It's all those small little things that other people might not notice, and they add up. And Matthew, in a minute, once we talk about technology, maybe you just scroll through a few of those products that we put out there. Not yet, but I agree with what you said. You know what we observed, Ago? You nailed it. Dieting. You're right. Someone says, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to watch what I put in my mouth. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But what you put in your mouth is important, but so too is the stuff you deny yourself. You say, oh, I'm going to eat this organic brownie. It's organic, and it's sugar-free. I'm watching what I'm eating. It's gluten-free, sugar-free, lactose-free, all of that stuff. So I'm going to put this because it's good. It's good for me. And you put 4,000 or 5,000 calories in your body a day, and you become obese. And then you try to lose weight, and you're thinking, but man, I'm eating all this healthy stuff. And yes, you are. Yes, it might even be good stuff, but you have to deny yourself. The iPhone. Just here's an example. The iPhone came out. How many people now? 4 million people signed up in 24 hours. It is hard for us to say no. When a new gadget comes out, when a new social media platform comes out, when a new business tchotchke, new gadget, and I'm like you, go self-proclaimed nerd, I see something that can make my life easier. I got to jump into it. And Matt knows I run him ragged, checking out new products and all kinds of new things. And, part of being successful is to say, no, I'm not going to do that. It's when you say no to things, you leave yourself time to say yes. You nailed it, Ago. That's brutally honest. We fill our calendars with so many items that at the end of the day we go, oh yeah, I should have gotten to that, but I didn't. Why? Because I was too busy saying yes to stuff that doesn't matter. And when I want to say yes to something that does matter, like closing a deal, like researching, prospecting, building relationships, I'm so busy, I'm so tired, I'm so worn out, I'm so fatigued, I don't have anything left to do what really matters. So think about denying yourself things so that you can actually get things done. Okay, Matt, it's on you, bro. Every few seconds, I can't see what you're doing, so just gently go through those products. I want to talk about a few of them that I find really refreshing, that have made my day. Ago and I, of course, were talking. Todoist I'm a real big fan of. About a year and a half ago, I started profiling these tools. I wrote an article on the top 28 productivity tools. I'm a big fan of Todoist. It's sleek. It's easy to. It's sleek in meaning that I can use it from my phone. I can use it from my laptop. I can use it from the web. I can use it from Gmail. And as Matt knows, we preach this all the time to our clients inside our company and outside our company. Your brain is used for creating, not for remembering. If you're using your brain for remembering, then you're not being as successful as you could be. So use a tool like Todoist that's on your phone. Wunderlist is another one. Asana is another one. But I mean, Todoist is probably my favorite overall, where on my phone I can tap my screen. I use an Android phone and say, create note. Remember to pick up milk. And it creates a Todoist note for me. It reminds me to go pick up the milk. I can say, remember to call Ago about YouTube video. And it creates a reminder. I can do this real time. And it reminds me to do that. I don't have to remember it. If you are the type of person who says frequently or at all, oh, I know I should be doing something, but I can't remember what it is. This is where you have to stop and get involved in a tool. Now, how do you use these sort of tools? Of course, there was a note in there earlier about setting alerts. So, we set daily alerts. There are tasks in there that we ask ourselves to do every day. Things like, following up on social media every day. Things about posting content every day. Writing articles every day. Weekly tasks, like check on the stats for people, engaging with you. There are monthly tasks. Make sure you follow up with these 20 people every month. There are quarterly tests. There are yearly tests. And you organize it. And what happens is, instead of sitting down the night before and going, oh, my goodness, what are all the things I need to be remembering you're doing? It's already scheduled and set out for you. Okay, I love it. I love it. So, listen, you've got two guys who can't agree on anything who agree on this tool. Actually, we agree on a lot of stuff. But so go check out Todoist. By the way, disclaimer, if you want to use their super secret premium account for your team, it costs you a very expensive $3 per person per month. So come on, guys, we can all afford $3. Okay.
Hey, Dan,
I also like contactually alive. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ago.
yeah, can I jump in here? I've got 2 or 3 quick things that I want to share, and one of them is what you just said. I used to do this with my team, actually. I have someone who, she's my executive assistant, if you will. And so we both use Todoist. And I love the fact that I can delegate tasks to her, and I just know it's done. Also, what's such a comfort and a luxury is whenever she does something and she checks it off, I get a little message. Hey, guess what? It's done. And I don't have to worry about it. And here's the big thing, because I don't want people to think that we're talking about, this isn't tool fest, right? We're not talking about tools for tools' sake here. We're talking about tools because they serve a very specific purpose. And that purpose is, if you've got these tools who help you manage and run and organize your business and yourself, then you will find that just by putting stuff in there, your brain will be freed up to start doing the creative work, start doing the visionary work, start really thinking about the stuff that matters. And that's to me what the biggest promise that these tools have. Like you, I've got Todoist on an Android phone, an iPad, both of my Macs, and probably everywhere else. I mean, and it's just, here's the thing: when you use these tools, use them to, get stuff off your mind. That's what you want to be doing, because we all have these things where we go on Monday, we go, I need to remember that. And then it comes back on Tuesday at 3 in the morning. And then it comes back on Wednesday at 10. And then you start feeling guilty because you've still not done it. And then it comes back on Thursday. And the thing is, it takes up your brain space. It takes up your brain space. And I
Yes.
can tell you the two of the most productive moments of my day are, one, whenever I have one of these things that flashes into my brain, I just grab my phone, I type it out, and it's done. It takes like a second and a half, and I don't have to worry about it
Yes.
anymore. And the other one is once a week, I literally look at my week ahead and I spend 20 minutes. And I like doing this on Sunday morning before, the family wakes up and this and that. Um, yeah, talk about focus. But anyway, it's just when you can sit down and you can do that for the week. I guarantee that's going to make you so much more productive. Going to give you so much more space for creativity, for brainstorming, and for strategy. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, so you nailed it. And, these tools are meant to free you up to be disciplined. And I'll say this: if you don't have a plan how many times have you ranted and ranted about somebody who said to you, Ago, I'm going to go, I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow. I will send you an email with all the details in a week, and you were ready to buy from them, right? You were ready. I had it happen a few days ago. So I'm ready to do something for them. I said, let's do a video interview together. I'm happy to help you. How can I help further your career? I like what you're doing. And they just never got back to me. And I was having a conversation with the CEO buddy of mine. And he said, oh, I want to help this guy. And I said, I tried. He never got back to me. And whenever that happens, I immediately think two things. One, I probably think you're a lazy, unorganized person, is what I think. Now, you know what? That may be dead wrong. You may be drowning in 75 feet of tasks that aren't getting done. Here's what I was saying. Take 2 seconds, check it out on your phone, check it out on your computer, and even things like they've got a plug-in for your browser. You're in your browser, you see something, and you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is a great website. You can actually create a task. Just hit a button in your browser. It takes the website and says, go purchases, all kinds of stuff you're looking at. Oh, I want to check this out later. To create a to-do list, it takes about 10 seconds. You turn the website into a task, and away you go. This allows you to be that person that follows up and follows through. A lot of discipline, getting things done, denying yourself, doing it right, getting return on investment is about following up and following through. So key is discipline.
Hey, and Dan, can I?
Todoist does that magically. I agree. It's so rewarding when I assign something to somebody on my team, and I don't have to go, hey, did you get this done? Where are we? I see a comment under the task. Working on this. Still looking for these things. Do you want to approve this before we go live? It's all in the comments, and then I see a checkbox. It's done. And I know. I don't have to even think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more thing I'll say is another tool that check out Todoist. It's raving. It's crazy. Obviously Google makes a whole suite of products that are basically free. Contactually is another good word for me. Here's why I like contactually. Okay, so those of you listening, there's a lot of CRMs out there. I've used Salesforce. I've used a lot of Base. I've used PipeDrive. I've used a bunch of these tools that are out there. Contactually connects really tightly with Gmail and my Gmail calendar. And for instance, it'll let me know if I call someone. It'll log calls. It'll log emails. It logs all my interaction without me lifting a finger. And this lets me know who I need to talk to and who I don't need to talk to. And I really like that a lot. After using a bunch of different CRMs, I have to tell you, Nimble, and just use a bunch of CRMs, I really like the fact that it interacts with a few different apps. Look, I'm not paid a penny to tell you about these tools. I'm telling you this is what I use to be highly productive. And so you might want to check that out as well. And the goal of this technology is not so much, again, repeating what Ago said, not that you have, changing tools every 5 minutes, is that you have a set of tools that allow you to be awesome and be disciplined, okay? So use some of these tools mentioned, great. I mean, there's just, go down, write the URL, go explore them for yourself. Leave a comment in the video below or in the comments below and just tell us what tools you use. By the way, if you use a tool that makes you highly productive and Ago and I don't know about it, leave it in the comments. We would love to figure it out and be more productive ourselves if it helps you, okay? So the first thing we learned is that if you want massive growth in your life, in your business and sales as a salesperson, then you need to be putting in extreme behavior. As Ago said, sometimes it just means learning what works smart and doing a lot more of what's actually working. Secondly, we talked about being disciplined activity, doing things, denying yourself things, and then we talked about a bunch of these tools, and the fact that your brain is made for being magical, being creative, not for remembering, okay? And then, and even cavemen, I'll tell you this, to be somewhat charming and witty here, even cavemen drew stuff on their walls, right? They were trying to get stuff out of their head and not trying to remember it all themselves, too. So they wanted to know that's a lion. When you see the lion, run away from it. They drew it on the wall. So life's good. Learn from a caveman. Write it down so you don't have to remember. Third, let's talk about giving. And sales, the biggest, the best strategy, the biggest difference you'll ever make as far as strategy is to give. If you want to sell more, I'm going to be dead honest with you. Right now, you need to give more. And I'm not talking about giving more effort. You need to give more value. People need to feel like they're getting a deal when they work with you. I was consulting with a company not too long ago where they were giving away products. It was a product company, and they gave away samples. And they were telling me that they were choosy, or they weren't giving samples to people that they didn't feel like could buy their products. And I said, well, how do you know they can't buy your product? Well, we did a little research. Where did you research? Well, we looked at, what they're doing now. And I said, so you're guessing, basically. Yes, it's a good guess. Okay, great. That's okay. Not yelling, just trying to get to the bottom of what we're doing. At the end of the day, what we realized was they weren't really giving anything at all. They were trading. There's nothing wrong with trading, but trading isn't the same thing as giving. This is why these white elephant gifts at Christmas time feel a little bit hokey, right? Because you're not really giving something, you're trading. But if you're a parent and you give your kid a new bike, you know what you get as a reward? You get the smile and the look of the jaw that comes open when they go, oh my goodness, is that for me? Is that mine? My 2-year-old daughter a couple nights ago just got a brand new bed. And she's a big girl now, of course. And she is, as soon as her brothers came home from school, my wife told me, she grabbed them by the hand and said, oh, you see my bed, you see my bed. Dragged them upstairs to see her brand new bed. She was so excited about this gift that my wife and I had given her, a brand new bed. Listen, if you want more clients, if you want more customers, you've got to give. I'm being serious about that. You've got to give them time. You've got to give them a smile, right, from time to time. And, even though you're tired and worn out, you've got to give them attention. You've got to put your phone down and look them in the eye and not multitask. It's not just about buying them a beer. It's not just about quid pro quo. It's about giving them lots of value, right? When you give them value, they buy from you. They become customers for life. Each person does it differently. Costco came up with the idea to give away food in the stores. People said that'll never work because if people eat, they're not hungry. If people aren't hungry, they don't put stuff in their shopping cart. Well, that makes great sense. But I'll tell you what makes even more sense. The fact that Costco gave away food. And you know what? Costco's not doing too bad these days, right? They're multi-billions of dollars. Take Amazon.com. They bought a company a year and a half ago called Zappos. People paid for 3-day shipping. Zappos overnighted the shoes. You didn't pay for that. You didn't deserve that. That wasn't value that you had given money for. They gave you a gift of overnight shipping. You were expecting to get those shoes in a few days. You walked out the next morning and you tripped over them. Oh, what are these? These are my shoes. Surprise, delight. It was magical. Another thing that Zappos did was they said, listen, take a week, walk around in our shoes, go to the prom, get married, doesn't matter, no restrictions. Use our shoes however you want them, and if you don't like them, you can return them back to us. Before Zappos did that, I don't know if you've ever had tried to return a pair of shoes to the store. It was basically impossible. Even at a high-end store, they would flip the shoes over, see if anybody had worn them. Oh, no, sir, we can't take them back. By Zappos redefining the rules, by giving what people said outrageous amounts of value, you know what they did? They took a company that was $1 million, grew it into a company over the next 9.5 years that Amazon paid over $1 billion in cash for. $1 billion. $1 billion of ideas that started by giving. Look at other companies who give. Companies like Tom's Shoes. You buy one pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes away. Every time you buy a pair, they give a pair away. And so these are ideas that are crazy, ludicrous. You're losing profit. You're not maximizing shareholder equity value, right? All this kind of stuff, the excuses for not doing it. But the companies who give are the companies who return, who see massive amounts of value. Okay? Now, let me just put a disclaimer in here, even though there doesn't need to be one, and then we'll talk about the why. And I know we're about out of time, Audra, so I'll shut up here in a second. Some people say, I'm giving. Whenever I meet people who go, I give so much, and no one really, they just step all over me, take advantage of me. I've never met a person like that who was a true giver. Now, it could be that my side of the world is extremely skeptical and cynical, and the business people and salespeople that I've had the luxury of interacting with are all selfish. I tend to think that's not the case. I tend to think, enough of that soapbox, think about what you can give. How can you give more? What could you give? Not a digital white paper. Don't you dare tell me you're going to give me a white paper. What can you give that's awesome and outrageous that gets people excited about working with you in the future? Okay. Then, the last thing, not only you extreme, not only you disciplined, not only do you need to give, but you need to be a human being. Human being. There's a reason why you're called a human being, not a human doing, right? But every morning, hey, Ago, how you doing? Hey, Matt, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? We don't say, hey, how are you being? We say, how are you doing? But you're called a human being, not a doing. Why? We're complex. And what's going on inside of us isn't something that we do, it's who we are. Look, the more logical things appear to be, the less they really are. When your buyer says, oh, I've got budget, don't worry about it. Oh, you should worry about it. When someone says, yeah, we've got plenty of time, well, maybe that's the case, but maybe it's not the case, right? And what we uncovered, studying 1,000 ordinary people who achieved outrageous results in business, was that they understood the human side. They understood that sometimes you yell at your wife and trip over the cat and spill coffee on your tie on the way to work, and you get into the office and are just downright unreasonably grouchy, and you're shouting and screaming for no reason, and if you're calling on that person, if you're trying to close a deal, if you're trying to cold call that person, they're going to bite your head off. And instead of getting angry and biting their head back off, maybe the best approach is to say, hey, I'm sorry, sounds like you're having a bad day. Anything I can do to make it better? Now, the reality is that we spend our lives having a lot of conversations. We talk about BANT, right? For those of you in sales, all of us, right, we know BANT. Budget, authority, need, timing. Those are the essential elements. We can argue about if they've been replaced or not, but neither here nor there. Budget, authority, need, timing. I can't sell Ago something if he doesn't have the budget to pay me for it. I can't sell it to Ago if he doesn't have the authority to make the decision. If he doesn't need what I'm selling, he ain't going to buy it. And I got to tell you, it does me no good this quarter if Ago buys next quarter, right? So BANT, budget, authority, need, and timing. And those are all wildly important. But underneath it all are the real conversations, right? In other words, here's a real conversation. maybe someone's going to buy from you because it helps them get promoted. What about that? What about if someone buys from you because your competitor slept with their girlfriend or their ex-girlfriend? Or what if they don't like the fact that the person who bought your competitor's company has a yacht and they hate people with yachts? Look, it may sound ridiculous in some of those illustrations I just pulled out of a hat, but the reasons why people buy are very, very diverse. You could almost create separate sitcoms out of all of them because people don't make decisions rationally. I'm sure you've seen this quite a bit, right? Where people just decide to make a decision and then they kind of use evidence around them to justify why they're making a completely irrational decision.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and one of the things of why I'm convinced that having been in the buying situation for so long helps me sell is because I know this stuff inside out, right? I've been part of a couple of multi-million-dollar RFPs from the start to the finish, and so you see what happens when you're in the committee and you're either a part of it or you're chairing it or whatever, and you see the four vendors who come in the beauty contest, and they all come in, and you listen to the conversation that happens after they leave the room. And what I always tell my clients is, here's the deal. We talk about rational and emotional afflictions, and those are and the rational and emotional impact, right? And the rational impact is the stuff that we spend 80% of our time talking about, but has 20% of impact on the ultimate buying decision. Things like the business case, the ROI, the credentials, the track record, the industry expertise, et cetera, et cetera. 80% of what we talk about, 80% of our proposals, 80% of the things that we discuss in meetings with our clients, 20% of why they ultimately end up buying from us. The flip side of that is that 80% of the reason they buy lies in the 20% that we hardly ever cover. And that's exactly what you talked about, Dan. This is the emotional stuff, right? Do they trust you? Do they feel like genuinely you have their best interest at heart? Do they feel like, when something goes wrong, you'll be there to cover their back? Do they feel like you're genuinely interested in their company, in them, and their career progress? Do they feel like working with you could be a good move for their next job and the job after that, right? We do a fair amount of work with executive search firms, and they tell me that a big part of why they have such large networks is because they are career relevant. They talk about this. This is an industry term, career relevancy. You know that if you're, if you have a good connection with an executive search firm, at some point that's going to probably pay off. And that's not being that's not being calculated or cold. That's just the fact of life. And absolutely, Dan. I mean, recognize this so much. Um, think about this. And here's what I find interesting. Why is it that we only spend 20% of our time talking about the 80% of the stuff that matters? And I believe, and I'm looking at your last phrase on the slide here, I believe that it may be because we're scared to open up. We want to be that professional guy, right? In the blue suit and the red power tie and and the kind of, bluish, we don't want to stand out. We want to be seen as professional and competent. But ultimately, if you really want to excel, if you really want to get amazing results, you're going to have to be a little bit human here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There is that fear factor of if I just follow the rules, maybe hopefully I have a chance. And let me bury my head in the sand and not have the real conversation that I need to have, the powerful conversation, that 20% conversation, as you're saying, that enables me to win. And maybe I don't win this deal, but maybe I win the next deal because I truly understand what motivates these guys. Not what they say, but what truly motivates them. It's about 10 minutes left here, and thank you for all of you who've joined us. If there's Ago, maybe if there's any questions, we can address those. Or there's much more that both of us could say. Let me brag on my friend Ago here for a few minutes. I've known Ago for a while, and And what a solid guy when it comes to thinking deeply and smartly about the issues of sales. There's a lot of people running around touting the kind of the macho, thump your chest, here's how you close a deal, sort of ridiculousness as I think of it. And one thing I appreciate about Ago is his thoughtful approach, his smart approach, his approach that says, look, it's not so much about this deal, it's about the next dozen deals up. And so what do we do? How do we create a process? How do we have a strategy that makes us win all of them? Not just this one right here with some fancy lines, some get-rich-quick tactic. What do we do to build growth over a long period of time? So that's what I find refreshing. That's why I'm honored to be your guest today. Of course, we really love ordinary people who achieve outrageous results. You're one of those guys, Ago. So let me join you. For those of you thinking of struggling with challenges of how do I grow, what am I doing? I think I'm doing everything everybody's telling me to do, but I'm not getting good results. Then you need to pick up the phone and call Ago and have him come and sit with you. I think you'll be just as impressed as tonight.
I'm not sure what to say after that, Dan. I mean, I'm tempted to say, all right, good night, everybody, and thank you for attending, but I won't. Because one of the reasons why we're doing this webinar together, Dan, is because I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. What I like about you is you have a broader focus. It's not just about sales, right? It's about business. It's about business results. It's about strategy. And what I like is that you bring an approach that is both human and humane, and I use those two words very distinctive, very differently, very distinctly, but also that you're not afraid to put yourself out there a little bit, right? It's all about being edgy. It's all about doing things a little bit differently. And I know from my own experience, I know from seeing how you work, I know from the results that you get for your clients and I get from my clients that it's really, really about. I mean, here's what I love. In this webinar, we talked about two things that if you do those two things, you will stand out. You will stand out from the crowd. Yep. You will get dramatically better results. And I notice because I do these things and my clients tell me that's why they buy from me versus somebody else. You want to know what those two things are? Do you want me to tell you? Here are the two things that really stand out for me. The number one thing is that consistency, right? We talked about this. People who are very, very good at the top of their game, they don't drop the ball. They may have a bunch of automated tools running in the background that they may always be on their phone typing away, adding another task into Todoist. But one of the biggest reasons why we get business is because when someone reaches out to us, we respond. We respond quickly. It's almost like a personal honor thing for me. When someone takes the time and the effort to write me an email and say, hey, Ago, we're interested in doing some work with you guys, I want to respond to that person. I want to give them my attention quickly and efficiently. And I want to make sure that I get them on the phone as fast as we can. And you know what's funny, Dan? When I talk to them and I say, hey, you must be talking to some other folks out there. How's that going? They say, reached out to 5 firms and, you're the first one to come back to us and now 2 more have, and we haven't heard from the other 2. And I'm like, great, that's less competition. I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah. So that's the first thing, it's really about the consistency. And the second thing is what you said about giving. So true, so true. One of the biggest, one of the biggest ways in which I grow my business, and that's not deliberate, is because I consistently look for ways to add value to my clients beyond what we discussed, right? They say, okay, we'll do a training program with you guys, and then we'll do some, we'll do the assessment work, and then maybe on the back end we'll do some consulting, and I'll say, hey, you know what, great, but why don't we now that we've agreed on this, and now that we've set the scope, I'm starting to think about what's outside of scope. What else can we do? Because my responsibility isn't to do training. It isn't to do coaching. It isn't to, deliver a nice webinar. It's to get business results for my clients. And so one of the ways that I do that is going above and beyond the call of duty. And that to me is that giving part. And it's not calculated. It's really looking at a business and going, okay, what do these guys need to get to the next level? What is it? What is the one thing that I can give to them, that I will give to them? I'm not going to charge for it. It's part of my responsibility as an advisor, as a consultant, that is going to tip them over. And I think those two things, doing things consistently, quickly, efficiently, giving people the respect of getting back to them and following up with them and doing what you'll say you'll do, and then going above and beyond the call of duty. If you do those two things and you do them well, I guarantee you're going to get extraordinary results. With that, let me hand it over back to you, Dan. I know you've got a short message on the new book that's out, right?
Yep, new book is out. Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for having me as a guest today. If you're interested in some more of what we ran through here with Edgy, EGGY, you can go to edgyconversations.com and read more about it, and we encourage you to, send us an email and just ask questions. And like I said, if you're looking for help, consulting help, I hope you'll pick up the phone and call Ago and get some help from there. Look, you hear us, we talk about giving. We will answer your emails. This isn't just stuff we write webinars about or talk about on webinars. We believe in this. This is our part of who we are. So if you want to be better, if you want to change, if you want better results, we want to help you. And so Edgy Conversations, of course. Ago, your website is it agocluytens.com?
Yeah, if you want to, frankly, the best way to find out more about me is just Google my name. I'm blessed with a fairly unique and recognizable name. So just Google my name, and you can check out the blog. There's more stuff there. There's some stuff on YouTube. But here's what I really want to say. Go check out edgyconversations.com. The book is it's like $10 in Kindle, or a digital version. It's $15 in a paper version. It's rated 5 stars on Amazon.com. I mean, this is an amazing book. In addition to that, if you want to get more, if you want to know more about Dan, check out danwaldschmidt.com. There's a blog there as well. There's a lot of other stuff. And here's what I'd like to say: immerse yourself in Dan's thinking. Dan is a strategist. Dan is not just there to talk about tactics or tools. Dan is someone who's got a vision about business, is someone who's not afraid to put that vision to the test, and has done so repeatedly, is someone who's willing and able to go out there and do this huge amount of research in order to produce a book that is both a work of art as well as a work of insight. And I can't recommend the stuff enough. Go check it out, edgyconversations.com, danwaldschmidt.com. Dan, as always, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being on the webinar with me.